Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Live. We're going to try and have another shot at launching some rockets. Let's get our game loaded up. Last time we managed to get two flights off during the live stream. First one didn't go all that well. The second one went a lot better. We had a fairly successful flight into orbit. We managed to get a full orbit, and then we managed to come back safely. But I think what we're going to try and do this time around, we're going to try and head for the moon, shoot for the moon. So we can see here we're back to our space center. We've got no flights in progress at the moment. We brought everybody home safely, which was good. So we're going to head into the vehicle assembly building, and we are going to build ourselves a new rocket, and we're going to try and get that rocket up to the moon. Now the thing with trying to get a rocket to the moon, the amount of fuel that we take, this is the rocket we used before, and this amount of fuel managed to get us into orbit, managed to get us into a stable orbit, and then we managed to bring that orbit back down and bring us back to Earth. But if we're going to try and get to the moon, we're going to need to take a lot more fuel with us so that we've got enough fuel to do the maneuvers and things to get us to the moon. And the problem with that is fuel is heavy, so we need to put some more thrust behind it to get us into space. So a rocket like this is not going to be enough to get us into space and up to the moon. It might be enough to get us to the moon, but we certainly wouldn't be able to land on the moon or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a completely new rocket. Start with a command pod. And I'll tell you what we're going to do first. We're going to have a look at our research, because we unlocked a lot of science and we didn't pick what we were going to spend that science on. So we're going to head back to the research building, and actually no, we don't have enough science. We must have spent the science points on unlocking some of the aerodynamics and the other things that we can use here. So I was hoping that we could unlock this one so that we could unlock the bigger fuel tank, but we haven't got that one. So we're going to have to make do with what we've got. So here's our command pod. So let's go for what do we need? The first thing that we're going to need is a parachute to bring us back again. And the usual things that we need in our flight, we're going to need a transmitter, so there's our antenna, and our science gathering equipment. This is our mystery goo. Let's rotate that round. We'll attach that to the command pod like we did before, and now we can start putting on some fuel. Here we go. So we don't want that first. We want first of all the decoupler, so that we can detach that when we come back down. Then let's add 1, 2, 3. No, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have a separate stage there, which will hopefully we won't need to use that section until we are in orbit. So our aim is to make everything under there enough to get us up and into a stable orbit. So let's have a look. We're going to need more fuel than this. So let's add another, let's say 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one up there. So 4 fuel tanks there. Is that going to be enough? Oh, let's stick another one on. You can never have too much fuel. Well, you can, but not for this. So there we go. We've got 5 fuel tanks on there. This would be a lot easier if we had the larger fuel tanks that we can unlock later, but... Oh, hey guys, sorry, I wasn't watching the chat. How you doing, guys? We unlock these with the science. These are the radial decouplers. So they work like these. They separate up in space. But the handy thing with these is you can attach things to the side of your rocket and have them detach, which is very handy for solid fuel boosters, which we also unlocked. And what we're going to do is stick some of these on to these decouplers like so. We're going to need an engine on the bottom of there. I'm going to use this engine here, which is our slightly less powerful but easier to control engine. I think that's looking okay, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to get us into space. Let's put some nose cones on there, give it a bit of aerodynamics, a bit less drag as we take off. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough or not. I might add one more fuel tank. Yeah, one more. We're very limited in what parts and things we can use here because we haven't unlocked them through the tech tree yet. So hopefully that will be about enough to get us up and into orbit, and then hopefully detach, and then we can use this to get us up to the moon. We're not going to aim to land on the moon because I don't think we've really got the technology to do a moon landing just yet. But we're going to try and get up and maybe do an orbit around the moon. Maybe we might make a full orbit around the moon, or we might just have to kind of slingshot around the moon and come back. So we're going to give this a rocket a name. What should we call this rocket? We've called the first one Rocket 1 and Rocket 2. Let's come up with something a bit more interesting. What are we doing? We're going to the moon. First trip to the moon. Come on, guys. There's enough of you in the chat. Give me an idea. What should we call this rocket? Let's bring up the chat on the screen. Where are we? There we go. Bob. Bob the rocket. Yeah, Rocket Bob. I'm not sure about Bob. Let's think. I tell you what, let's name it after our hero, Space Explorer Jebediah, because he's going to be taking this rocket up with us. So let's call this Jeb 1. Jebediah's first trip to the moon. Hopefully. So there we go. Jeb 1. Our first attempt at a lunar rocket. So let's save that. Let's just check what we've got for our staging here. So we're going to want, in our first stage, we want the 4 solid rockets to fire. We also want the main rocket to fire, although we'll probably throttle that down a bit. Then once we use up all the fuel in these, we want these to detach, which is what this stage will do, leaving just this one firing, using up all this fuel, hopefully getting us up into orbit. And this one then, yeah, that one will then detach, then this rocket will fire, the one that we hid under here. That will hopefully get us to the moon, back from the moon, and then we've got this to detach when we come back into orbit, back into the atmosphere of Kerbal, and we can fire our parachutes and things there. So I think we are good to go. We're good to give this a try. Now we haven't managed to unlock any extra batteries or anything, so we're still very limited on what power we have available. The engine will charge our batteries, but that's only while the engine is burning, and that engine's not going to be burning while we're travelling around the moon. So we are going to have to save any information, any science that we collect while we're heading around the moon, and bring it back with us. So let's take this out onto the launch pad. I'm just going to hide the chat while we get ready for launch. Here we go. Jeb 1. Oh, was this, what's this, a sunset launch? Is this sunset or sunrise? What direction are we facing here? Hang on. We are facing south, so that's west. So that's a sunset, I believe. And here we go. This is our rocket. Jeb 1, ready for launch. So we are going to turn on the SAS to stabilize us during the launch. We are going to put the throttle to probably, what's that? That's about 50 or 60%. That's about 60%, I would say. So that we don't use too much of this main fuel during the launch. Hopefully the boosters will be enough to get us to about 9 or 10,000 feet. And then we can drop that, sorry, 9 or 10,000 meters. And then we can drop those off and start using our main burn engine so we can start getting our launch ready. Jeb's sitting here ready to go, looking very, well, not much expression on his face at all there. How you doing, Jeb? Give us a smile. No? Okay. So, I think, what can we do before we launch? We haven't got much battery power. We can take some readings before we go, but we can't transmit. Well, we might be able to just transmit one. See, that's only got a small amount of power. We will transmit that. It's only got a small science value, and it's going to use up all our electric, as you can see up there. But that will refresh as we go up and send the rest of that transmission. So, are we ready for launch? This is Jeb 1, our first attempt at a lunar launch. And we're going to do a countdown from 5 like we did before. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off. Here we go. Ooh, we're waiting for it. Bring that back. Bring that back. If we're going anywhere, we're be pointing east. These engines are too powerful. On these solid boosters is dropping quite quickly. Picked up a little bit of an angle here, which is annoying, and it's the wrong direction. I'm going to have to increase throttle on the main engine to help us stabilise. Oh, here we go. Right. Let's get this pointing to the east a little bit more. There we go. That will correct. Okay, so these engines are spent, so we can detach those now. Off they go. And we've got this fuel here now to get us up into orbit. We're at 15,000 meters, so I'm going to give us a bit of a gravity turn. Ooh, that's a bit too much. There we go, the gravity turn. By the way, I don't know how well the microphone is picking up over the sound of the engine. From the last video, I know that the engines were quite loud, so if you can't hear me very well, then let me know, and I will play around with the volume, or if I'm too loud, let me know, and I will play around with the volume and we'll try and fix that up. So here we go. Let's just bring that down a bit more, down to about 45 degrees. There we go. And then we'll zoom out to our map, and we can have a look at our map to see where we're heading here. We want this apoapsis, the highest point in our orbit, we want that to come up to at least 70,000 meters so that we are outside the atmosphere of Kerbal. 35, it's taking a while. Let's look at how our fuel's going. We've got half a tank of fuel left. We might be okay. we might be okay. However, that's taking its time, so I'm just going to angle us up a little bit and hope that we can push this up a bit quicker. There we go, that's going up a bit quicker now. 50,000 meters. Just coming up to 1,000 meters per second. Oof, I don't know that we're going to have enough fuel, guys. 45,000, this is 60. I'm going to take this up to about 80, I think. And then we'll cut our engines and let the rocket float up to our apoapsis. Here we go, 80,000, so we'll float there. And while we're here, we'll plan our maneuver to get us... Oh, that wasn't quite in the right place. Mind you, that's not such a bad thing. So let's zip this out. This is where we're going to be aiming for, 93. Yeah, we're in the wrong part of the orbit to actually get an orbit around the moon. So we're going to have to take an orbit, get into orbit, and then spin round and see how we go. But here we go, this is our rocket. Let's line up to our target. We've got a 1 minute burn to do. Yikes, which means we need to start at about 30 seconds, T-minus 30 seconds, so I need to get in there pretty quickly now. Let's get to this target point, hold it there. Okay, we're going to have to burn. Hopefully the rocket will stabilise during the burn. There we go. Okay, so this will hopefully we won't run out of fuel before we've reached our target speed. We need to add another 750 meters per second to get a full orbit. It's going to be tight. It's going to be really tight. Come on, come on, be enough, be enough, be enough. Come on. Ah, oh, look at that. 35 meters per second left and we run out of fuel. Have we got a proper orbit? 87, 67, not quite. Okay, well, what we're going to have to do is, let's point ourselves up in the air a bit, and we'll ditch the fuel tanks. Where are we here? Where's the sun? There we go. This is our rocket. Let's ditch these fuel tanks. About there. There we go. So hopefully, actually that's quite good, because that means that they are eventually going to fall back into orbit, so that we don't fall back into the atmosphere, so we don't leave any debris floating around. Having debris floating around can be a right pain sometimes. So here's our little rocket, which hopefully will be able to get us to the moon. There's the moon over there. But we can't just point ourselves at the moon and hit our boosters, because we will miss. So what we're going to do, the moon is there, so what we need to do is burn roughly around where our periapsis is here, but that periapsis is a bit slow, so we're going to have to increase the height of our periapsis by burning over here at the apoapsis, just so that we don't touch the atmosphere as we're trying to burn away to get to the moon. Okay, so we're going to speed up time a little bit to bring us round to our apoapsis a little bit quicker, because otherwise we've got to wait another 3 minutes. So let's speed up. Throttle's up. Hold on. Let's pull this up. Throttle down. There we go. And we'll speed up a bit. Here we go. Round to our apoapsis. And then what we need to do is line up with, oops, I don't think it's that one. Where are we? This is the one. This is the direction we're facing. So this is our prograde target. Prograde meaning the direction you're facing, or the direction you're traveling, rather, not the direction you're facing. And we're going to need a little bit of throttle just to push the periapsis up a little bit. Let's go back to here so that we can turn on this rocket, turn on this engine. There we go, a little bit of a boost, all in the dark. Periapsis, there we go. So now we'll push that to about 100,000. There we go, we'll cut there. So now we're at 100,000 by 87,000 meters orbit. And now we can start planning our maneuver to get to the moon. Now, the speed that the moon's traveling this way around the planet, and the speed that the moon is traveling, if we launch about here, we'll head in this direction, and hopefully we'll just catch it here. And we want to try and aim for as close as possible, so we use as little fuel as possible. So I'm going to try about here for our maneuver. We're going to push the apoapsis out. There we go, right. Now these little indicators that you can see on the orbit here, we've got here closest approach. So this is the closest we come to the orbit of the moon. And then that's where we will be when we are closest to the moon. And that's where the moon will be. So we're not quite in the right place here. So we need to move this round until these are, there we go. Now, that'll do. Okay, so what this is showing us is when we do this maneuver here, we will travel round here on our orbit, and at this point we will come under the influence of the gravity of the moon. So our orbit is going to change, and then our speed is going to carry us past the moon, and then here the moon's going to stop affecting us, and we're going to come back into the orbit of Kerbin, and that's going to pull us back to Kerbin. So this is what we call it. This is what you call a flyby. We're going to do a flyby orbit around the moon. So it's going to take a long time for our rocket to get there. So fortunately we've got our time warps that we can use. But what we need to do is get round to this maneuver point, which is 11 minutes away. So to do that, let's speed up time and get us round to our maneuver point. Two minutes. Okay, we're just coming up to our maneuver point now. 1 minute. Oh, hang on. Nope, I've done that wrong. Whoops, because I'm not lined up with our target, and I'm going to need to start burning in about 10 seconds. I walked too far. Impatience. There we go, ready? Oh, that'll do it. Okay, hopefully we've got enough fuel in this thing. We can watch what happens to our orbit while we're burning here. Right on target, 47 seconds of burn. Oh, we've got plenty of fuel, plenty of fuel. Don't know what we were worried about. Let's get this all out, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, loads of fuel, loads of fuel. 20 seconds of burn left. Slow the burn down as we get to... Here we go, ready, slow it down, and bam! There we go, so not quite where we aimed, but that's not terrible, so there we go. that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to follow this blue line, and we're going to meet the moon in 3 hours and 28 minutes. Fly past the moon, and we'll do some EVA reporting, and we'll do some crew reports and observe that mystery goo as we fly past the moon, and then we're going to head back into the Earth's orbit and come back. So this will be fun. Right, Jelly's asking questions. How far can we... oh no, it's Seb, sorry. How far can we zoom out? Well, here we go. This is Kerbin, this is the moon. This is another moon, although it's kind of planet size, but it's well, no, it's not actually. It's smaller than that. But that is Minmus, also orbiting around Kerbin. But if we zoom out further, this is the orbit of Kerbin around the Sun. And here we have the other planets orbiting around the same Sun. So we have, from the middle, we've got Moho in the middle there. We've got Eve, then Kerbin, then Munar. Munar is a very popular planet for early flights for sending a rocket to try and land on Munar. Some very good science points that can be earned there, from what I gather. I've not managed to do it myself in the past, and I've only once or twice managed to land on the moon round Kerbin, so that will be a challenge for us to get to Munar a little bit later in this series. Outside of Munar, we've then got Dres. Then we have these two planets which kind of overlap each other a bit. We've got Jool and Elu are the other two planets that share, and then that there is our maximum zoom. So there you go. But we at the moment are more interested in what's going on right here. So we are going to, let's have a look at our rocket. We are heading to the moon. Here is our rocket. Where are we? There we go. Say goodbye to Kerbin, because we are heading to the moon. There's the moon up there. This planet is about to get much smaller.